At that time,
she called it exclusive club.
In the 80s, those who were ruining the country were the Northerners and the UPC. And then when the NRM took over, in the North, those who were ruining the country were President Museveni and his party. And in the most of, say, Busoga and parts of Bukhedi largely, and then Uganda and Western, these were now liberators who had kicked out these terrible anyanyas. And these are the kind of discussions I think Ugandans need to go to. Yes. So now, that time, many people worked with the President Museveni, the Bidandi Salis, Dr. Semogere, my own party leader then, and so on. And they were, Dr. Semogere and a few of the people who joined NRM, they were opposition in quotes, but they were in government, and there was no problem with them because they were now working with the liberators. That perception has now changed. So when you see the subtext, you know, you need to read between the lines. The anger, when now those who were opposing even the treatment of Jacob Oulanya now go on radio and say, you know, you Northerners, your problem is you are eating with the wrong person. That was said by the chairman of PAC and the MP for Busiro East, the Honorable Medad Segona, on Frontline. Now, that you are dining. Now, where are the dining tables? They are in Parliament, they are in the cabinet. So, I think we need to respect the fact that people have a choice. If I were to unleash everything I know, I think many people would take off very fast.
You know, Nobert Mao, I'm going to invite you to unleash half of it. Let us wait for it.
I am only talking about how legitimacy is perceived.
Yeah.
I am broadening it from the legitimacy of election of a speaker to legitimacy of a government. So, right now, it is very wrong for Jacob Oulanya to make a conscious choice to break with his party, and at least that one we discussed, and join NRM. But it is even worse for him to be grateful for the opportunities the NRM has given him, because Jacob has been one of really the most grateful people. Let me tell you, there are many people who the NRM has raised, but they have not been grateful. But that's not a problem, because even Jesus, after healing 10 blind people, only one. So let me console the opponents, only 10% will thank you. The 90%...
If at all.
Jacob is one of the 10%, because he was UPC. Now, because one time he said, President Museveni is like Jesus who was sacrificed. Now, that part is not... They said, where is your Jesus to heal you? Those people are talking like the other man on the cross who was saying, why don't you save yourself from the cross? And he was condemned immediately.
Thank you.
Oscar, we need a debate on how perceptions keep changing. Because right now, the bastion of support for President Museveni has turned against. The North was opposing Museveni, but was never blaming the Baganda for supporting Museveni. We said we don't like your policies of hardline military action and you know, unleashing collective guilt on us and so on, but we never said that if those who vote for Museveni should be hung. But now, like the North has swung, and not only are many of the people in the North who support the NRM people are paying for their blood, and to the extent that anybody associated with the NRM, irrespective of where they come from. I saw Catherine Kosasira being chased away from a funeral.
And more will be
that is okay, but that is not the kind of society we need. Okay. Because we dealt with that in the North, Oscar.
Chairman Mao, I hear you, and I'm saying that's a discussion
let me
for another.
draw my line.
Okay.
When I became an MP, we had very extreme voices in Acholi. Why are you going to Museveni's parliament? You are traitors. You should be supporting Joseph Coyne. That's our man. And we respected their opinion. Unfortunately, they were speaking from exile. I went to London. We paid for our own air tickets. We looked after ourselves. And, you know, many politicians are polite. Politicians like to be correct. Me, I am not for political correctness. And anybody who expects me to be politically correct because I want to be president, they'll be disappointed. I put up my hand in that meeting and I said, by the way, you guys, were you not in government under General Tito Okello? What happened? Now you are roaring from London. Why don't you lead us to the LRA so that we find you there? But you are here lecturing us about what we need to do. You are saying we are hopeless leaders. So we had to deal with those radical elements. So imagine if we had said, those who are cutting off the hands of resistance council members, that they are right, and we then say, like our sister Namfuka is saying, even more RCs will be killed. That thinking is there, and we must accept that when you are divided, you must speak out based on your conviction and not be intimidated. So you can chase everybody from funerals and so on, but we cannot build a society like that. Last week, in front of our traditional leader, there were those who were saying, Nope will not be allowed to cross Karuma. I had to stand up and say, what are you going to do with the Noop who are Cholis? They don't need to cross Karuma, they are here. We had Noop candidates. Acholi has the only Conservative Party councillor elected in the whole of Uganda. We produced the only MP for Bidandi Sali's party.
Chairman Mao,
so now
we are running out of time.
That ideology has got to be confronted and defeated.
Yes.
So that we can find room for each other in this Uganda. Otherwise, let's go for civil war. If people want it, why chase people as
no. And not Mingo, Acholi, Baganda, and Noop. But
no.
Let's go to Abdul.
Even Christianity started in the Middle East, but it has grown. Noop will eventually become national if they make correct strategies. Even NRM started as a Bantu thing. Look at the list of those who went for peace talks in Nairobi. It was 100% Bantu, while Tito Okello's delegation was national. But it is a duty of a political organization to outgrow its credo.
Thank you, Mao. Let's come back to Parliament.
DP has outgrown
its credo. The Speaker, Honorable Among, it was natural. She's been leading that. If she had not been appointed Speaker, we'd have had problems. You agree?
Which problems?
Well, I think because of the constitutional limitation we had, the NRM and indeed Parliament, maybe, we were conscious of not going back to a very acrimonious campaign like we had soon after the general elections.
Especially now.
Yeah, we are trying as much as possible to have, to obey the Constitution and have the replacement, but without those outright so on. Because the experience we had in May was very, very disheartening. The race between the Right Honorable Oulanya and the Right Honorable Kadaga, it was very, very divisive, and we were not ready to go through that process even before we buried Oulanya. So there was need for consensus. There was need for consensus. Who could be like interested and qualified, and at some point they got people involved, and they are talking to all of us. Actually, I happen to be one of them, and so please, we don't need this. Please let us not go into this. So, as a replacement being arrived at by consensus, there was consensus on it. Now it came who. For example, are you going to get another person from Parliament now and put him or her on top of somebody who has been running the House for a whole year as a boss? Would that also cause a bigger problem within the House? 3, the person who has been running this institution, how is she? Let me tell you, and I've worked with the Right Honorable Among for a long time. She has these exceptional interpersonal skills, the way she relates with people. And you just have to see what went on. 410 401 votes. No speaker in the history has ever got that percentage
Is that
in
credit
that
to her?
race. No speaker in the history of parliament has got that sort of consensus. None.
Is that credit to her?
Oh yes, interpersonal skills. Because let me tell you, even when you analyze the number, they seem to be beyond her NRM.
NRM is 359.
NRM is 359. So
Independence?
she gets beyond the independence. She also goes even in the political parties. I am certain for sure that even members of the NUP, which eventually voted Vasari as their representative, some could have voted for the veteran of Anita. So I think she was the best candidate anybody would bring at this time, and the vote showed so. And let me tell you, last time we had a lot of accusations. For example, we had a lot of money accusations in the campaigns. This time we didn't see that. We didn't see that.
No midnight calls either.
The calls were there. There's no doubt. Nobody should tell you. The calls were there because some might know them. But the calls which were there was really not, we are talking against so and so, or against, don't do this. It was, let us have consensus. And we don't go through a robust campaign and election. So that even before the body arrives here, the house is what? Is divided. And that was the overriding consideration. In my
Okay,
view.
thank you. Or both of both?
Yes, I think with the constitutional command that when a vacancy of speaker occurs, you open. It is in that spirit that the NRM.
It says, no business
Yeah.
shall be conducted in Parliament except for the vote for speaker in case that office falls vacant.
Yes.
So
Which happens.
the command is no business. You can't, not even committees.
Yes, and
sit.
yes, and also there is a law Parliament passed that when a sitting member of Parliament dies, the speaker dies, the body should be given respect in Parliament. I think we need to clarify that.
Administration of the
Yes. So it is inevitable that the body of the Right Honourable Speaker of Parliament will have to go, and therefore it was necessary, inevitable that they must have a speaker. Now, and so in compliance with that, the NRM, not to appear as if you're just rubber stamping, called out for expression of interest. And then people expressed interest, 13 of them. And then you begin the process of consensus building. And it was in that spirit that we achieved that consensus quickly one afternoon. Of course, there are calls done. And all the other, including Obote, who, by the way, many MPs say, if it wasn't this question, you could be. And so on. But we are now past that. The only problem I see is that that precedent created by the NRM now may be counterproductive in the future. Because now it means that when we go for elections in 2026, Honorable Anita wins that parliamentary seat. Honorable Taiwa wins his seat. The members of parliament now can't, at least from the NRM, may not find it easy.
Interest.
May not find it easy to express interest, particularly if the speaker and the deputy speaker are doing well in parliament, or in the case of in the words of Honorable Abu Katundu, even if they are not doing very well, but they have good interpersonal relations. You could easily end up with an inept speaker, but has interpersonal relations understand. So I think in the course of time, NRM needs to again have introspection on that.
We should when
Now,
we are not in an election.
yes,
mode.
in an election mode. The second area is for the NRM. I want to raise this because in the NRM there are people who are expressing disquiet why do you donate? Why do you give newcomers? Because Honorable Anita is a recent entrant in you remember when the Honorable Hamani Misheka said, there are those of you who are climbers. There are those of you are the ones who say, there are those who join that constitutional square.
You just say when he referred to you,
Yes,
that you're a creeper.
square. Now, the NRM is built in such a way, that it doesn't matter really when you join. What is important is that you have joined.
How you perform.
Like Honorable Oulanya said, when I left UPC, I didn't leave any part of me back in UPC. I am here. And that was raised against Honorable Oulanya in 2011. How can somebody come from UPC a month earlier
Straight
to Deputy Speaker? And yet we are here.
This one is left FDC.
The Right Honorable Thomas
men.
Tayebwa was the chairman of the FDC Youth League. So we want to demonstrate to the Ugandans that this is the NRM. You can come. What is important is you have come, you are loyal to the NRM. It's now up to you to ensure that you live up to the tradition and the expectation of the NRM. And so we are giving them full support, and I have no doubt in my mind. I know Anita, I know Tayebwa. Tayebwa has done exceedingly well as chief whip.
Short time as chief whip,
Anita absorbed herself through the unfortunate sickness of Oulanya. You remember people are saying, you must be a lawyer, you must be a member of parliament for 13 years, I don't know how many years, in order to be a good speaker.
So you are now decampaigning me.
But for the 9 months of parliament where the Honorable Oulanya wasn't there, Anita has acquitted herself.
Okay. Moses, you are satisfied with the choice of speaker and deputy speaker, of course.
Of course.
Of course.
Yeah. But see, Oscar, your question you asked Lydia, I need clarification. Even this morning I was coming here, I was listening to Professor Kanye Hamba on one of the Nikutu, one of the radios. I was saying in many polities I know of, the ruling party, the party with the majority in parliament, offers a speaker. In fact, if today Nancy Pelosi is the speaker of Congress in America, she say how was she elected? The Democrats, after the election, they won the election, they had the majority. They did the caucus and said this is our candidate. They came to one person. There was no vote. In fact, the Republican never offered even a candidate. Just because they knew they wouldn't even manage to win. So it is a common practice in many democracies that the winning, in fact even the UK, where we have borrowed so much from the UK, unless where it is a situation of coalitions, and maybe a party which is forming a government, if they got a person on the speaker, they wouldn't get enough votes, then they can offer that post to another person, so that they maintain a majority in the parliament. So that's what it's all about. So those people are saying, did you elect, select, it doesn't matter. Haven't heard of a country in the world where there is a democracy, where the ruling party does not offer the vision of the speaker. And I give America the good example, when Nancy Pelosi, after those elections, the Democrats agreed on her as their candidate. There was no even election in the House, there was no Republican or any other person within the Democrats to come and stand against her. She was the only candidate. So we haven't done anything different from the rest of the world. We have done what other people do, and this is not surprising.
I like it that today you are quoting the Americans and the British, so I'll remind you at an opportune time.
Fine. We like referring to them, many people refer to them. And also,
Yeah. We have also broken this jinx. You know, we have been saying if a president comes from the West, you can't have the vice president, I don't know what, from the West. Now, when Chief Justice Chigamoy, we had Oulanya as speaker. Now we have vice president, we have a vice president from Katapi, we have a speaker from Bukedea, and a woman, and a Catholic, and I don't know what. The NRM is trying to break that you can actually have majority position held by Catholic as long as they work for Uganda.
Or for Museveni.
Moses,
Museveni.
Moses, as you conclude, there's a Jane here who said, so you find it strange for Kadaga to break the 10-year covenant and not for the president to change the Bisanja. She said here that you find it strange for Kadaga to break a covenant, but you've never found it strange for the president to continue with the Bisanjas.
It is us in NRM have been urging him to come and stand. It has not been him. It is us who say we
And
want
he
you.
reluctantly gives in to your
It is us who have been saying we want you there.
black
So,
mail.
if the NRM people in parliament had said, notwithstanding what had been said earlier,
Even Mao has smiled.
Oscar, as I conclude on this,
Yes.
it is, see, both Anita Mong and Tayebwa had the campaign within NRM for the primaries. They had campaigned very fiercely and seriously as the late Oulanya and Kadaga had campaigned within the NRM people. So even when there was those nominations for the deputy speaker, first of all, before that, let me say this. After that death, this happened and there was this preparation. I talked to Tayebo. There was this issue, are you going for the speakership? He said, no. If my sister Anita Among is coming for speaker, I cannot stand against her. Then he said, but if she goes there and she wins, then I can offer myself for the one I had won for. So he didn't want to jump the queue.
Okay. Finally.
So when there was those, they said when they opened when Anita was proposed for speaker, and then in that would create vacancy in the deputy speakership, then Tayeba offered himself, and many people had offered themselves, as Elijah said, there were 12. Then, in fact, before they even went sick, 4 had pulled out. There were remaining about 8, and it was so clear within the NRM, within the caucus, that the person that Tayeba had offered himself to them and had talked to them had done so. He was, if anybody else had stood, he was going to defeat them thoroughly. So it was even the interest of people even not ashaming themselves, let's leave for one person to go, and it went like that.
He has been working well with the opposition as well.
Has
Final sentence, Moses, because we are out of time.
The final sentence is that this show, we wouldn't have invited Nancy, because it is really people who are at Makerere in the late 80s.
This is the constitution. This is a court of public. So on the appointments and election of speaker and deputy speaker.
Oscar, I think for most
Just pull the
Ugandans,
microphone closer to you.
the competence of the speaker or deputy speaker doesn't come into play when they're thinking about this and choosing. In fact, I think for most of them,